Last time we saw this verse 1.37 to 38. So here we were considering this point, that how greed is completely different from hunger, thirst, or anger. So these kinds of troubles that we face of hunger, thirst, and anger can be satisfied. Your hunger can be satisfied if you eat some food, or thirst can be satisfied if you drink some water, and anger can be satisfied if you shout at someone. But the nature of greed is such that it will never get satisfied, whatever you do. So that is what Arjun was mentioning here, that the nature of greed is such that it will never get satisfied. So why should we just waste our time trying to conquer the kingdom just to satisfy our own greed, which anyhow cannot get satisfied at any cost, whatever we may attain. But the greed for Krishna consciousness is a very great boon. And we were discussing last time how Krishna consciousness, the Maulyam, the Tatra Lolyam Ekam Maulyam. The Shastras tell the Mulya for attaining Krishna Bhakti is one's intense greed to attain it. Lolyam, that is called Lolyam or intense greed. So Tatra Lolyam Ekam Maulyam. The Maulya or the price for attaining Krishna consciousness is our intense greed. So greed for materialistic things is really bad, and it can cause our destruction and it will never get satisfied. But the same greed, when it is directed towards Krishna for attaining Krishna consciousness, that's a great boon. So now we will start our today's discussion with verse number 39. So again here Arjun is again referring to the same point of the family destruction, his same fear. The argument that he is giving for not fighting is of the destruction of the family. So what he is telling here, that with the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. So the logic of Arjun here is this, that when the elder family members are killed, then the younger family members, they will develop irreligious habits. So Arjun is thinking that if I kill all the elder family members here, then obviously their younger children, there will be nobody to teach them religious principles, and sure enough then they will get involved in irreligious habits. And because of that, the family traditions for purification will stop. That means the rituals, the sacrifices, the yajnas, which were a part of the Vedic culture, which were passed on by one generation to another, nobody will be there to pass on to the next generation, because all people will be killed here. And because of that, the new generation will not perform the family traditions for purification, and therefore they will lose their chance for spiritual salvation, because we all tend to perform some kind of sins in whatever activities we do in this world. When we earn some money, or when we just simply breathe, we are killing so many bacteria and viruses. When we earn some money, there is some kind of sin involved, because when we earn some money, not all money is like completely white. We are earning that money at the cost of someone. Or even if we walk, we may step over some ants, or in many other ways unknowingly we perform many irreligious things which give us some sinful reactions. What to tell of knowingly perform sinful acts? So because of that, these irreligious activities, these sinful activities, they need to be purified before one's death by the performance of sacrifices for purification. That is called prayashchitta. So when we perform yajnas, or when we perform these sacrifices, these ceremonies, they purify us of the sinful acts that we have knowingly or unknowingly performed in this world. Therefore, these sacrifices are very important. But when the elder members are killed, then the younger members of the family, they will develop irreligious habits, and they will also stop the purification ceremonies, and therefore they will surely go to hell. This is what Arjun is giving logic to Krishna. And he was also thinking that especially the women, they follow what their husband do. So the Vedic system was like this. Nowadays the culture is little different, but the Vedic system was like this, that the men of the family, they used to follow the guru, and the women of the family, they used to follow their husbands. and the children of the family, they used to follow their mother. So like this, it was a train going back to the spiritual world, that the husband following the guru, wife following the husband, and children following their mother. So like this, everybody used to follow ultimately Krishna, and like this, everybody used to return back to spiritual world after perfecting their lives. But Arjun is thinking here that if the men, they engage in irreligious activities, so he's thinking, he's considering himself that if I engage in irreligious killing of all these people, then obviously the women who follow the men, they will also not hesitate to engage in irreligious activities, and hence when they are spoiled, then obviously children are going to get spoiled, and when these children grow up, they will make the new generation society, and the whole society will be in chaos. So this logic Arjun is giving for not fighting. So moving on to the next verse 1.40. Now here Arjun is telling, when irreligion is prominent in the family of Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. So another reason here that Arjun is giving for not fighting is this. So the Varnashrama religious principles in Vedic society, they were so designed that they will train the people, train the population in chastity and purity. So they were so designed that it will fill the society with good population, and good population, that very crucially depends on the chastity and purity of women who give good values to children. So women had a very important role in Vedic society of giving chastity and purity and good samskaras, good values to children. And when such a thing does not happen, then children, when they grow up, they are not going to become good citizens. So they had a very important role. And Varnashram religious principles were so designed that the chastity and purity of women must be maintained at any cost, because they are like the foundational pillars of the family. Because the children, they mostly follow their mother, not so much their father, especially in early days of childhood. The association of mother is very important. So if women have their chastity and purity maintained, then this is a sure short way of maintaining the purity in society. So these are the logics of Varnashram religious principles, which are very deep, and which the modern politicians and the philanthropists, they don't know that how important it is to take care of women's purity and women's charity, chastity. So this point that Arjun is mentioning here again for not fighting. So then he is telling also that hence, obviously this is another thing that we should note about Vedic tradition, that therefore there were many different traditions of there were various religious ceremonies which used to engage the time and attention of women. There were many festivals, many rituals, many ceremonies, celebrations where women used to make the preparation, and they used to decorate the house, make rangoli, cook food items, and meet with relatives and engage in kirtan and so many other activities. So by doing all these things, their time, energy, and mind was fully absorbed in all these religious activities, and hence it was easy for them to remain protected and not get adulterated. So if such traditions of religious ceremonies, they are stopped, then obviously the woman needs some other engagement. So if they do not sing the songs of glorification of the Lord, glorification of the previous acharyas in kirtans, then they will sing, obviously go out and sing some other songs and do something else. So therefore it was very important in Vedic culture that women, because they like this also, because the women have a nature according to Vedic psychology that women like such kind of ceremonies, festivals. Women like to attend marriage parties or some ceremony which is going on. They like such atmosphere. So if a spiritual atmosphere where these their tendencies cannot be utilized, If such facility is not given, then obviously they will utilize these propensities in some other way. So these were like the very deep logic of the Vedic culture, how they used to protect the women who were the foundational pillars of the family. And then obviously unwanted children which are born because the women lose their chastity and purity, they cause war and pestilence in society. So here Arjun is giving this logic that if I kill all these men, then obviously the woman will get polluted, and when the woman get polluted, there will be no culture and no samskaras, no purity even in children. And when these children they grow up, they will cause war and pestilence in society. And basically, this is what is the position of the current society that we can see, especially in the Western countries, because children are not given proper samskaras since childhood, and no many of the children they are not born also religiously. They are a product of irreligious union between a man and a woman, and such children, what can be expected from them? Because no samskaras, what to tell of garbhadan samskar, they are not even religiously born, they are not even properly born. So such children, when they grow up without proper samskaras, proper culture and proper values given by their parents, they will obviously cause war and pestilence in the society. And then the government has to increase the police force and impose so many laws, rules and restrictions to control the crime in society and to maintain law and order. But for law and order and police department and defense of the country is one way of controlling this war and pestilence and the chaos in society. Another way is to focus on giving proper education, culture and values to children. Then obviously what the budget government spends on the defense and law and order maintenance, that is automatically going to go down. So this was the Vedic logic that gives people good samskaras from childhood only. Then you will not have to apply so much police force to maintain law and order when they grow up. So this logic is also, we can see, is now missing in our modern schools and colleges. But modern schools and colleges, they just give what material education. Hardly there is some training about values, character. All these things are not so much taught. But in Gurukul system, which was the ancient Indian system of education, the character was the first priority, spirituality then, and after that whatever amount of character a person develops, according to that they were given any amount of material knowledge. And if a person does not have proper character, then he was not given the material knowledge. Because we know that if a terrorist, he becomes, if he is very intelligent and he also has a proper knowledge, then he can be very destructive to the society. And we have some very famous examples. Osama bin Laden, an intelligent person, or even in Vedic times, Ravan, a very intelligent person, has all material knowledge. But it would have been better if they would have been fools. They are using their intelligence, they are causing so much, they caused so much destruction in the society because they never had proper character. So the Vedic system was like this, that first train the children into character and spirituality, and according to how they perform in character and in spirituality, according to that calculation, you give them that much amount of material knowledge. Else, they may simply cause trouble in the society. So here another thing that we note here is that Arjun is calling Krishna as Varshaneya. So he is reminding Krishna that you are a member of the Vrishni dynasty. Therefore, he is calling Krishna as Varshaneya. Previously, Krishna called Arjun as Kaunteya, reminding him of his family heritage. So now here Arjun is calling Krishna as Varshaneya, reminding Krishna of his family heritage, and then he's indirectly meaning that Krishna, you are telling me to fight, but you are from Vishnu dynasty, and suppose you were there in my position and you were supposed to kill your own dynasty, what would have happened? Would you not have or would you have gone ahead to kill all these members? So indirectly he is meaning this by calling him Varshaneya. Moving on to the next verse, 1.41. Then here Arjun is again mentioning that an increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. So during Vedic culture, there was a ceremony of offering food and water to forefathers. Even now, people perform Shraddha and Pindadan, such ceremonies. But in Vedic culture, people used to perform these things very strictly. So these are ceremonies. Actually, the logic behind this ceremony is what? That uh, food which is offered to the forefathers, that is not just any ordinary food, it is the food which is first offered to Lord Vishnu, so it becomes a prasad. And when the prasad is offered to the forefathers, so that is purifying, that purifies them of their sinful acts whatever they may have done, and because of their sinful acts they may have been uh, struck up in some ghostly body, or they may be in some hellish planet, or they may not have a gross body, they may be stuck up in some subtle body as a ghost. So different places they may have been because of their sinful reactions what they have done previously. So it was the responsibility of the next generation of family members to perform these ceremonies of offering this food and water, which is first offered to Lord Vishnu and has now become a prasad to the forefathers, so that when they take this food and water, they become purified of their sinful reactions, and then they can move ahead to their next life or to a higher destination. So this was the thing. So here Arjun is telling that if I kill, then obviously the next generation, which will not be properly trained because of the lack of guidance of their elder members who died on this battlefield, so they will stop offering food and water to forefathers, and hence their forefathers will suffer, and because they have neglected their duty, they will suffer, and because we are the cause of such a mishap in the society, we will suffer. So but here we need to note that these performances are not needed for devotees so much. So devotees still perform such ceremonies, but actually if someone is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, then one need not perform these ceremonies. Because by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. So these ceremonies are meant for people who are not actually devotees, who are not Vaishnavas. So they need to perform these ceremonies. If someone is a devotee, he need not take so much trouble. He just need to be very intense in his own devotional service. So here again, Arjun is primarily considering his own sinful reaction by becoming a party to stopping these offerings. Again, he is thinking about his own sinful reaction, that I will be the cause of stopping all these offerings and ceremonies. So I will get a lot of sinful reaction. So actually the thing is that uh, because Arjun is fighting this battle because on the order of Krishna, so he is following a higher dharma, and order of Krishna is the highest religious principle. So he's thinking that I will get sinful reaction, but actually by not fighting he is disobeying the orders of the Lord, and that in itself is a wrong thing. First principle is to follow the orders of the Lord, and when you follow the orders of the Lord, there are no sinful reactions anyhow. So when Krishna is directly telling him to fight, the right thing would have been to directly go ahead and fight and not think about sinful reactions. Sinful reactions come when we disobey the orders of the Lord. That's the definition of sinful reaction, when the Lord himself is ordering that you go and fight. So there is no question of sinful reaction. But because Arjun is behaving like a conditioned soul, he is giving all these reasons for not fighting. Now, in contrast to the Vedic society, where even common men had perfect knowledge of all these ceremonies and samskars, The so-called modern society does not have even a clue of this subtle science of family traditions. The modern society does not even know that after death, the forefathers may have been stuck in some hellish planet or may not have got a subtle body because of their past sinful reactions. So all these things are completely unknown to the modern scientists, which even a common man knew in the Vedic society. So this is our so-called modern society. So they are just like kind of animals. Animals don't know anything better than eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And similarly, the human beings, the current scenario is like this, that they do not know anything better than eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So moving on to the next verse, 1.42. Here now Arjun is telling that by the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. So the community projects that were set forth by the institution of Varnashram Dharma were designed to enable human being to attain his ultimate salvation. So the underlying principle behind all the community projects in the Varnashram Dharma was to enable a human being attain Krishna consciousness. That was the underlying principle. This was the guiding force in all the principles that were set forward by the Varnashram Dharma. So, the breaking of such principles of Sanatan Dharma by irresponsible leaders surely causes chaos in the society, and consequently, people become godless. They forget the aim of life, as it has happened today in the modern scenario. That we can see because these principles, this breaking of these traditions which Sanatan Dharma used to offer, the people have become totally materialistic. People do not just even theoretically know what is the goal of life. The goal of life is to attain the favor of Lord Vishnu. Hence, the society has become like a blind leading a blind man.
What you will to right?
So, when such things happen, then obviously we can see that the whole world is going towards hell. And Srila Prabhupada used to tell that the world is going towards hell because such ceremonies are not being performed. They don't have perfect knowledge of these traditions. And the modern science is helping people go to hell at a rocket speed. Because the more is the technology, more you can break the principles easily. And hence, more you rush towards the hell with a greater speed. So here Srila Prabhupada used to give the example of a scientist from Kolkata only. His name was Sarpi Shirath, and he used to challenge. He was a first class atheist, and he used to challenge these principles of offering Pindadan and offering Shraddh to the forefathers. He used to tell that if I sit on first floor and I am being given some food from ground floor, so will I be able to eat at any cost? Can somebody else do it? That you are on the first floor and I give you food sitting on the ground floor. Can you eat? So how can the forefathers eat? Sitting somewhere other at some other place, and we are offering them food from your earthly planet. So how can they eat? But Srila Prabhupada used to tell that this foolish scientist, he does not know that there are various kinds of eating. One thing is gross eating, the way we eat, and there can be subtle eating also. So the ghosts, they also eat. Those who don't have subtle, this gross body, they have only subtle body, they also eat, but they have a subtle way of eating things. When we offer food to Lord also eats, but he eats by his glands. So because we know that angani yasa saklendriya vritti panti, that all the angas, all the bodily parts of the Lord, they are so designed that any part can perform the activity of any other part. So Lord can eat through his eyes also. He can just look at the food and he can eat it, and then he leaves the remnant as prasad for us to partake of. So these are subtle sciences which the modern scientists, don't know because they have knowledge only of the gross science. So moving on to the next verse 1.43. Now here Arjun is telling that, O Krishna, maintainer of people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. So here Arjun is referring to the disciplic succession. So Arjun was not a fool. He knew that the knowledge comes by disciplic succession. And even a common man from the worldly point of view, although Arjun is a very great devotee, but if we talk, Arjun is a common man and he also knows that the perfect way of obtaining knowledge is through disciplic succession. And in modern society, people don't know even this basic fact. They tend to depend more on their own gross and physical observation of the world. But our Shastras tell, and in Vedic society, everybody knew that if you want perfect knowledge, we have to go to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastras. Therefore, this is what here Arjun is mentioning, that I am not speaking all these things just because it is my observation or my experience or I have heard it from somewhere. I am speaking all these things. I have learnt all these things from disciplic. So the system of prayashchita which was there in the Vedic society was it was being performed by the whole of the society, especially by people who were not devotees. So what is the logic behind prayashchita? Because as we told that even in our common day-to-day activities, we do perform some sinful acts, and because of that, we may have to suffer sinful reactions. So the ceremonies and the rituals were so designed that if we perform those ceremonies and rituals during our life, we will atone for all the sinful acts that we have performed in our life, and hence we can avoid the hellish planets. But if one dies without performing these prayashchita ceremonies, then sure enough he will have to dwell in hellish planets after his. So ceremonies were important, especially for karma kandis or the Vedic society people who were not Vaishnavas or devotees of Lord Vishnu directly. So, if these ceremonies were stopped, then the destination of the whole world in general is going to be towards hellish planets. And this is what Arjun is fearing, that those whose family traditions are destroyed, they will always. But however, Vaishnava's Kul Dharma is only to satisfy Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. So even if we have performed some sinful act, so it's not that we look into the Shastra that for this sinful act, what is the atonement given? What is the only prayashchit for a devotee, even if he has done something wrong, is to intensify his devotional service. Suppose you have done some sinful activity, so the Karma Kandi Shastras will recommend many different types of prayashchitas. So if you go to a Karma Kandi Pandit, then he will tell you that if you have done this sin, then for atoning for this sin, you must perform this thing. Maybe give some charity, or maybe perform dakshina, maybe go to the dhams and visit, or whatever. He may tell you different prayashchitas. But the only prayashchita for a Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord, is to intensify his devotional service. So, for example, someone broke a regulative principle, then what he is supposed to do? Now he is supposed to practice devotional service with more intensity. That's the only prayashchit in devotional service. So that is what we should know. So moving on to the next verse, 1.44. So here now here Arjun is becoming indecisive. The sixth reason here for not fighting, what Arjun is giving, that is being considered in this verse. So he's telling, alas, how strange it is that we are prepared to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. So there are many instances in the history of the world that people have killed their own family members driven by selfish motives. But Arjun is a saintly devotee of the Lord. He is not that kind of a person. So people many times accuse Bhagavad Gita as being full of violence. But here, the violence which is being performed is not for Arjuna's pleasure. It is for Krishna's pleasure. So till that time, Arjun was thinking that I have to engage in all these violent activities. So it is for my pleasure. It is for us Pandavas to be enthroned as the king of the whole world that this whole battle is being fought. But when Arjun understood that no, it's not for our pleasure, it's not for the Pandavas' pleasure that this whole violent battle is being arranged. It's for Krishna's pleasure. Then immediately he became ready to fight. He said, Karishye Vachanam Tav, that I will follow your instructions. That's what Arjun said towards the end of Bhagavad Gita. So that is what we need to understand, that violence, when it is for our own pleasure, obviously it's a bad thing in society. But violence for Krishna's pleasure is also Krishna consciousness. It's also devotional service. So Bhagavad Gita, although it is many people accuse that it is full of violence, but you can see here Arjun, before he started his fight, he never wanted to fight. He is so compassionate, his heart is so soft, and such a person is engaging in these violent activities who does not want violence at all. So we should know that there is some higher purpose in this violence, and that higher purpose is Krishna's pleasure, nothing else. So we will just two more verses are there. So I was thinking that maybe in few more minutes we will just finish this chapter so that next time onwards we can start with the next chapter. So here in verse 1.45, Arjun is telling now, better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. So here Arjun has decided to not fight even if the other party is so bent upon killing him that they attack him without following the Kshatriya codes. According to Kshatriya codes, if the enemy is unwilling or enemy is not ready or if he is without weapons, then a fighter is not supposed to attack. But Arjun is telling that even if they are so bent upon killing me that they attack me, even when I am not prepared, still I will not fight. So that is the compassion. So all these symptoms of compassion in Arjuna's heart are due to his soft-heartedness, resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord. So these are the symptoms of a great soul. So considering all this, the psychology of a Kshatriya, so uh, for a Kshatriya it is like impossible for him to beg. So Arjuna was considering all these pros and cons. If I fight this battle, what is going to happen? And if I don't fight this battle, then what is going to happen? So considering all these pros and cons, uh, Arjuna decided that it is better for me to not fight only. So here the example which is being given of Bhima when he went to, like last time we were discussing few classes ago, the story of Draupadi requesting Bhima to get the 1,000 petaled lotus flowers which she found, one flower she found in the Alaknanda river, and she was very attracted. So she requested Bhima that can you get more such flowers for me. So Bhima then he started running up the hills and he met with Hanumanji, and the story is there how he met and what happened. Then after meeting Hanumanji, then he moved ahead. Then he reached a lake, and in that lake he saw that there were many flowers, and actually that lake belonged to the Yakshas. So he just jumped into it, and the king of the Yakshas is Kuvera. So the Yakshas and the Rakshasas they told Bhima that you cannot take away the flowers like this. This lake belongs to Kuvera. So you need to take permission from him. So Bhima said that I am a Kshatriya and Kshatriyas do not beg for anything. They do not beg for any favor from anyone. So then the Yakshas and the Rakshasas they attacked Bhima and Bhima killed everyone. So that's the nature of a Kshatriya. So even Arjun will be telling him that you want to go to the forest and you want to beg, but because you are a Kshatriya, if someone does not give you arms, then immediately you will take out your sword and try to kill him. Now that's your Kshatriya nature. So it will not be proper for you to go out and beg because you don't have a Brahminical nature. Brahmanas can do like that. That even if someone does not give, someone insults, they can tolerate. But Kshatriyas, for them to tolerate insult is very difficult. So Arjun was considering all these things that I don't want to fight and win the kingdom, but if I don't fight, then obviously the only profession that will be left for me is to beg, but that also I cannot do. So the best possible option for me now is that these enemies of mine, these Kauravas, they kill me unarmed. They just, without holding any weapons in my hand, if they just kill me, unarmed and unresisting. So this is what the logic that Arjun is giving. So here, even after knowing that it is Krishna's desire, Arjun is thinking so much and making his own plans. So therefore, he is behaving like a typical ordinary man. This is how a ordinary man behaves. Although he knows that all these things are Krishna's plan, Krishna wants that things should happen like this, and still, if a person makes his own plan, even after knowing what is Krishna's plan, then he is in the same position as Arjun. So in our lives also we can see, we know the instructions of Krishna, what he wants. He has given those instructions in the Shastras. And even after knowing those things, if we do not do those activities, then we are following the same principles, thus we are doing the same foolishness which Arjun is doing in this verse. Obviously, he is taking the role of an ordinary man, although he is a very great devotee. So, in this world, we have this illusion that we can protect someone. Like Arjun is thinking that I can protect these men from killing, but he does not know that actual doer is Krishna. Krishna has already decided that these people are not going to go back home. They have come here, they are going to die. And he is telling that Nimitta Matra Bhava Sabyasachi, you just become a Nimitta or an instrument. Already I have killed them. They are going to die. I have killed them, not you. You are only supposed to become an instrument. So this is what we should know. We can only become an instrument. The actual doer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this point also again Arjun is missing here. And this illusion Arjun is showing, taking the role of an ordinary man. So here Arjuna's behavior is portraying the behavior of an ordinary man like all of us. So we should put ourselves in Arjuna's position, and we face similar situations in our life. We also think that we can protect someone, thinking that we are the doers. We are the maintainers of our family, of the elders of our family, or we are the maintainers of our children. But actually, the only person who can protect someone is Krishna only. And the last verse, we will quickly finish this also, that Sanjay said, Arjun, having this spoken on the battlefield, Arjun he just cast aside his bows and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. So, while observing the situation of the enemies, Arjun stood upon the chariot. But when he saw who all he has to fight with, then he was so much afflicted with lamentation that he again sat down on the chariot and he set aside his bows and arrows. So, just we can imagine what kind of a soft hearted person, how kind he was, and such a kind hearted person is supposed to receive the knowledge of self realization. So, we can see people accuse Bhagavad Gita as a book which promotes violence, but we can see the Arjun, who is a central character of Mahabharata, he is such a kind and soft hearted person, and he is engaging in violence only and only for the Supreme Personality of God. So here the significance of Arjuna's putting aside his Gandiva bow is very important to understand. See, we can just imagine how miserable, how troubled Arjun was when he was in such a position to just throw away his Gandiv bow and he just sat down on his chariot. Because for a Kshatriya like Arjun, uh, like his valor, his Kshatriya spirit, they had such a pride in it. And Arjun had taken a vow that anybody who tells me to put down my Gandiva bow, immediately I will kill that person. He had such a vow. And that same Arjun is now himself putting his Gandiva bow down. So it is like a very, very significant event, a very serious event. And this signifies how troubled and how morose Arjun was. So there is one incident in the battle of Kurukshetra, one time when Karna was confronting with Yudhishthir Maharaj. So he badly injured Yudhishthir Maharaj and he defeated Yudhishthir Maharaj. And then Karna ridiculed Yudhishthir Maharaj that you just see, you call yourself a Kshatriya, you don't know even how to fight. you are such a person that I will not even bother killing you, just go away. So like that Karna insulted Yudhishthir Maharaj, and Yudhishthir Maharaj, who was badly wounded, he returned back to his camp. So when Arjun came to know that Yudhishthir Maharaj is very badly wounded, so he also returned back to the camp to see what is the position of Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, when he saw Arjun, he thought that Arjun must have killed Karna and avenged the mud he has thrown on our pride, because a Kshatriya, this dishonor is worse than death. So Yudhishthir Maharaj was dishonored. He was insulted by Karna. So he was thinking that Arjun must have taken the revenge. So Yudhishthir Maharaj just got up and he said, "Oh Arjun, you have killed Karna and you have come back. You have avenged for the insult that he cast upon me." So Arjun said, "No, no, I have not killed Karna. I just came to know that you are badly injured, so I just came to see you." Then Yudhishthir Maharaj became very upset and he said that what is the use of your being a Kshatriya, your being such a warrior? What is the use of your Gandiva bow? Just cast it down. So Arjun became very upset because he had taken a vow that anybody who tells me to put my Gandiva bow down, I will kill that person. So then he became ready to kill Yudhishthir Maharaj only. He took out his sword. But then he was in dilemma. Oh my God, I have taken a vow that anybody who tells me to put my Gandiva bow down, I will have to kill. But how can I kill Yudhishthir Maharaj? So he was thinking what to do. And in all these situations, the only person who had to sort out all the troubles and all the problem was Krishna only. So Krishna came to the situation, and he was started his own. He somehow tried to manage the situation. So what Arjuna gave the solution. So what Krishna gave the solution, that he said that for a Kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death. So obviously you have taken a vow that you will kill Yudhishthir Maharaj, and you have taken a vow that anybody who tells you to put down your Gandiva bow, you will kill that person. But for a Kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death. So now what you can do, you can insult Yudhishthir Maharaj. And by insulting Yudhishthir Maharaj, this will be a fate worse than death for him. So if you insult him, it's as good as killing him. So then Arjuna liked this idea. So then he kept his sword back inside, and then he started insulting Yudhishthir Maharaj, and he started glorifying himself. So first he started insulting Yudhishthir Maharaj. So he said that you are such a coward, you call yourself the king, but because of you Draupadi was so much insulted, and I could have killed the whole of the Kaurava army single handed, but you never gave me order, you never gave me instruction. You are such a coward, and you call yourself a king. So very bad words. Remembering all the previous experiences from the Mahabharata, Arjun was just uh, throwing so many insults. So after he insulted Yudhishthir Maharaj sufficiently, Yudhishthir Maharaj became very upset, and then Arjun was thinking that I have insulted my elder brother so much, so I cannot live. So then again there was next trouble. Now Arjun took out his sword to kill his own self. He was about to kill his own self. So because he was thinking I cannot live because I have insulted my elder brother. Then Krishna again had to manage the situation. Again he said, no, no, don't kill yourself. If you want to kill yourself, then for Kshatriya, for anybody actually, if he glorifies his own self, that is worse than death. So you glorify your own self. So that will be as good as killing yourself. So then Arjun again liked the idea. He said, okay, yes, I will glorify myself. So he again kept his sword back inside. And then he told, I am the Gandivdhari Arjun, the great warrior, the Atirathi fighter. I can alone single-handedly finish all the Kaurava army. I have the Brahmastra weapon. I have all the celestial weapons which I acquired from the heavenly planets. Who can stand before me? I have defeated these warriors, that warrior, so many things he said about his own self. And then he calmed down that, okay, so this is how in all these situations when Pandavas were in trouble, Krishna had to manage. So we can just see, again coming back to the verse that Arjuna had this vow that anybody who tells me to put down my Gandiva bow, I will. That same Arjun has now himself put his Gandiva bow down. So you can just imagine what kind of misery Arjun was experiencing. And in such a miserable state of consciousness, now Krishna is going to speak the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, beginning from the second chapter onwards, which we will be starting from next session onwards. So this signifies that when one is in such a troubled state of consciousness, then he really takes shelter of the words of Krishna, because Arjun was so troubled. He was not in a relaxed position and he was not getting bored from the Bhagavad Gita class. So then his ears were fully open, and every word which Krishna was telling, it was sinking inside his heart. So in such a consciousness, Arjuna heard the Bhagavad Gita. So when we are also so much eager, either because of the troubles in our life or voluntarily, then the message of Krishna will sink even in our own lives also. So thank you very much. This is the end of chapter 1. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.